You're watching Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Schultz here with you. Thanks for joining us. Klint Kubiak is officially the new offensive coordinator for your Seattle Seahawks. He had his introductory press conference earlier this week, and on today's show, we are going to react to what Kubiak had to say about his big plans for Seattle's offense in 2025. We will bring you all of that and more coming up in just a matter of moments. Before we do, 12s, I need your help. So our bosses here at Chat Sports, they want to start a Rams channel. And I said, I am not about that. I am totally opposed to the Rams getting any love and any attention from us here at Chat Sports because, quite frankly, they don't have fans. They don't deserve it. So what they told me was, they said, Tyler, if you can get 100 subs off today's video, then we won't start a Rams channel. That we will keep on trekking on and put our full attention on Seahawks Today. So if you don't want them to be starting a Rams channel around here and want us to focus all of our attention and resources on Seahawks Today, then I need you to subscribe now for daily Seahawks coverage you won't find anywhere else. Subscribe now for free. You'll be glad you did. Kubiak sounds off. The newest offensive coordinator for your Seattle Seahawks, Klint Kubiak, had his introductory press conference earlier this week, and he laid out his plans for what he has in mind for Seattle's offense in 2025. And it starts with having a balanced attack for Seattle. Kubiak made it clear that they don't want to do things like Ryan Grubb was doing, of throwing the ball 40 and 50 times a game, that they want to be effective in both the run and pass game. And one thing that comes to mind for me is look at Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. He had a reputation in Dallas and in Philadelphia of being pass happy, but then he adapted with how good the run game was in Philly with bringing in Saquon Barkley in that offensive line, and they found a good balance there in Philly, and ultimately they won the Super Bowl, and now he's the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. So here's what Kubiak had to say about his plans for a balanced attack. The number one thing is that you better have more than one way to win. We're going to have an identity. We want to be smart. We want to be tough. We want to be physical. Those are three critical attributes. But it's important that we can run that football and that we're a successful throwing team. You've got to be a balanced team. And sometimes you got to drop back 50 times to win the game. Sometimes you got to run it 50 times. But when it all comes through, we want to be balanced. We want to be able to win in multiple ways. Folks, this is exactly what I wanted to hear. Balanced attack. You want to be able to have a multitude of ways to attack a defense and to exploit their weaknesses. And Klint Kubiak is saying, look, if it's in our game plan, if it's at its best to run the ball a lot, we will. If it's at our best to pass the football a lot, we will. But what we're going to do, we want to be balanced. We want to attack you in a multitude of ways. That is refreshing to hear. When you look at Kubiak's offensive scheme, here's kind of the nutshell of it, folks. It's a pro-style offense. He comes from the Shanahan coaching tree, so similar to what you've seen from Kyle Shanahan and his father and others is the offense that you're going to see in Seattle. They like to draw attention to the deep middle safety. That is kind of the attack point of emphasis in the Kubiak offense. He will sprinkle in some play action under center, which is also different from what we saw previously under Ryan Grubb. You're going to see Geno more under center than we've seen his entire time in Seattle. A balanced attack, as mentioned, and they want to be smart, tough, and physical. All those things, very good to hear. So, let me ask you, do you believe in Klint Kubiak? Is he the right man for the job for Seattle? Type B for believe, D for don't. Weigh in our pinned comment today. You might get an ad break while the ad's playing. Get your votes in. Let us know. B for believe, D for don't. Number two, Kubiak wants to fit the scheme to the personnel that is there. And to me, that's a really good sign of a good coach, one that plays to the strengths of their team, kind of like what we mentioned with Kellen Moore and how he ended up getting that New Orleans Saints head coaching job, is seeing what you have to work with and what can we do to maximize that potential. And it stood out to Mike Macdonald, and a big reason why he ultimately ended up hiring him to be his new OC. He said Klint has a great vision for where he wants our offense to go. He was very clear with the personnel we have on our roster. I definitely believe it aligns with how we want to rock. Just really, really excited. And you think about this, folks. The pieces are there for this Seattle offense. I think we look back at what happened in 2024, and we say to ourselves, this offense, with all the weapons that were there, did not come close to reaching their full potential of what they should have been able to do. Even with the question marks that were on the offensive line, this offense still did not even come close to peaking of what they should have with the talent that was there. Right now, this is what we believe the Seahawks offense will look like in 2024 before bringing in any, or 2025, before bringing in any free agents or trades or draft or anything like that. We don't expect Tyler Lockett to be back, at least for now. Noah Fant is going to be around. We'll see if that changes potentially. But JSN coming off a Pro Bowl campaign. DK Metcalf has been very consistent over the years. Charbonnet and Walker have been a terrific 1-2 young running back unit. And then Geno Smith, we know he can sling it, and we've seen what he's capable of at times. This is a very good group. The pieces are there. Now let's see if they can execute accordingly. Today's show is sponsored by Z-Biotics. Let me take a minute to tell you about Z-Biotics. Ever skipped a workout because of drinks the night before? Me too. If you're committed to your healthy routine this year, you need Z-Biotics pre-alcohol. Pre-alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to drink this probiotic before drinking alcohol. Drink responsibly and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. I just tried pre-alcohol for the first time this past weekend when I was in New Orleans for the big game, and I can honestly say there is no better way to feel my best the morning after drinking than with Z-Biotics. And you'll be feeling really good. It's as if you didn't even drink alcohol the night before. Go to zbiotics.com/chatsports. You can also scan the QR code on the screen right now and get 15% off your first order when you use code ChatSports at checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription using my code so you can stay prepared no matter the time or occasion. Z-Biotics is backed with 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/chatsports and use code ChatSports at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times. All right, number 3 on Kubiak's offensive plan. It's not a return of the back. It's a return of the fullback position for Seattle. Kubiak emphasized that he would like to see the fullback position make a return to this Seahawks offense. That was something that went away under Ryan Grubb. And we saw Nick Bellore play that role for a number of years, also was a linebacker as well. And here's what Kubiak had to say, what he has in mind for this fullback spot. I certainly love playing football with a fullback. I like being in 21 and 12 personnel. Again, that's going to come down to the strength of our players and who we have on our roster. And let's use the best 11 out there. The name I think of, and he's available in free agency, so maybe you potentially bring him in, is Kyle Juszczyk of the San Francisco 49ers. And you look at Kyle and the impact that he was able to bring to the San Francisco 49ers over the last couple of seasons. This was a game changer for San Francisco, and a big reason why they dominated Seattle over the recent years of what he was able to do. Think about this. This was a guy that was able to disguise a play's intent. He could catch, he could run, he could block. He was a playmaker in some big moments. He complemented the team's personnel. He contributed beyond the stats. And whether it's Kyle or it's somebody else out there that you bring in to play the fullback position, this is exactly what you're looking for. I want somebody to be able to do all these things right here, and that can be a difference maker. I love the fullback position. I was a big fan of Mike Alstott back in the day. The fullback position, I think, is very underrated, and it's very useful. I know it sounds old school. It sounds yesteryear. We've seen a lot of teams get away from the fullback position, but if you use it right, it can still be effective. And I think that Klint is spot on when he says that. Do you want a fullback in Seattle's offense? What do you guys think? Type Y for yes, in for no. Get in the comments section. Let us know if you would like to see Seattle get a fullback in the offense. Next up, Klint Kubiak emphasize maximizing the tight end position, that this is a big key, that he wants the Hawks to be able to get the most out of that spot. And you guys know awfully well that the Seahawks have a terrible track record, maybe the worst in the entire NFL when it comes to utilizing their tight ends. They wasted Jimmy Graham. They wasted guys like Colby Parkinson. I could keep on going. The list goes on and on and on of guys that were talented but weren't properly used. And we've seen that recently with Noah Fant as well on that front. Kubiak said this on the tight end position. I think, obviously, you're looking for a number one, a guy that can contribute to blocking in the run game, and then a guy that can stretch the field. You're looking, especially nowadays, for a guy that you can rip the seams with, and guys that can make explosive plays in between the hashes for you, and then a guy that can go block a 265-pound defensive end. So that's not an easy guy to find. This is music to my ears, folks. This has been one of my biggest frustrations with this Seahawks team for many, many years, is how much they've ignored the tight end spot. And you look at the best teams in football. What do they all have in common? They have good tight ends, and they know how to use them. Whether you're looking at the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles with Dallas Goedert, or the Kansas City Chiefs with Travis Kelce, the greatest tight end to ever play the game, along with Noah Gray. Maybe it's the Baltimore Ravens with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. The Buffalo Bills have a couple good tight ends with Kincaid and Knox and others. You look at this tight end room for Seattle. Noah Fant, we'll see if he's back or not. That remains to be seen, but he's here for now. A.J. Barner was solid this past season. I think that he's going to be a career number 2. I'd be surprised if he was a true tight end 1 at any point in his career, but he's not a bad number 2. I think he can be kind of like what Noah Gray is for Kansas City in that front. I think you're going to need to invest in this position. And I wouldn't rule out if Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland, if they somehow slip, if they're available at 18, bring them in. And for all you yahoos out there that say, we need to invest in the offensive line, newsflash, geniuses, the tight end position is a critical piece to the offensive line. And based on what Klint Kubiak is looking for, if you were to bring in a young tight end with a high draft pick, they would be used not just as a receiving threat, but as a blocker as well. Now, Noah Fant, you think he should stick around? Honestly, based on his numbers, he's a bit overpaid. Just saying. What do you guys think? Should Seattle keep Noah Fant? Type K for keep, C for cut. Get in the comments section. Let us know. Last on the grand scheme, the big plan for Klint Kubiak is getting the absolute best out of quarterback Geno Smith. Kubiak said this: we have high expectations for him. We're going to push Geno and get the best out of him, and we'll do that by pushing his teammates as well. It's not just his show, it's a team thing, and he's got to be the head of that. And the key is putting him in a position to succeed, to get the best version of Geno Smith as possible. I like the idea of putting him under center. All right? Obviously, cutting back on the red zone turnovers is going to be a big deal. That's going to be a point of emphasis as well. But we've seen that Geno Smith is capable, that he can play at a high level, but the offensive line's got to do their part. Geno's got to cut back on the turnovers a bit. I mean, there's little things that can be worked on, but Klint Kubiak seems pretty confident. And one of the reasons that he took this job, he said, was because he was impressed with Geno Smith and what Geno Smith can do at the quarterback position, that he's excited to work with Geno Smith. So I think there's a reason to be optimistic. Let's see how it all comes together. For continuing Seahawks coverage, subscribe now to Seattle Seahawks Today for the latest happenings in your favorite team all offseason long. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.